Hey y'all, I'm Cody, it's time to catch up. Grab your headphones and fill your cup. Sports and life, I've got stories to share. Sit back, relax like you just don't care.
Thank you for tuning in to Catching Up with Cody. As you guys can see here, I have a guest today, Brandon. Thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is our first time meeting face to face. We've pretty much only been in contact through TikTok. That's how we met each other. Um, but I mean, I guess give the fans and stuff a little background information on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm super excited to be here. We've been talking about doing this for a little bit now, so super excited. I appreciate you having me on. Um, I am I'm on TikTok as Social Sprout. My name is Brandon. You know, just something about me. I was born in the South. I grew up in the South, the pretty deep South, from Tennessee, Mississippi. Um, and my parents passed when I was pretty young, so I was on my own for a long time. And I realized pretty quick that, if you want something, you're gonna have to get out there and do it. So I went to school, I went to high school, and then I graduated high school, went to college at Mississippi State, which I don't know if you guys can actually see this. I've got my Mississippi State coat now. But went to Mississippi State, and then after I realized that college kind of wasn't for me, I moved out to Colorado and I started in pretty much day trading. I was doing a little bit of day trading. I taught myself how to do that in school, and I started day trading for an oil company, it sounds crazy, but it was really more analytics than anything. Um, and then I figured out pretty quick from that I couldn't sit behind a desk all day. That was not going to be my life. I can't sit still. Like if you ever watch me on my channel or anything like that, I'm constantly doing. I talk with my hands a lot. I'm moving. It's like energy is just coming out of me.
Yep,
So
that's how I am. Yeah.
yeah, and I wasn't going to sit still behind a desk. So I moved back to Tennessee, Nashville, and I started a construction management company. I've always been pretty entrepreneurial, I guess. I've always wanted to do things for myself and do it my way, just because I kind of buck the system. It's not that I don't like authority, it's just that I've always thought that I know better than everybody else.
Makes sense.
And and so I started my own company, a construction management company, and it took off, man. I think at one point I had about 70 guys under me. And then I realized from that, and if you can't tell, there's a pattern here. It's like a lesson after a lesson. It's like everything I do, I learn something from, and then I just want to do it. I want to do the next thing, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's good though.
But
And that's how you always grow is like you learn from either the mistakes that you've made previously or, okay, this worked out in this scenario, so now for my next, journey, let's try using that again, see if that works and just kind of I mean it's kind of like trial and error,
right,
really.
man, and it really is. That's been the story of my life is, failing to succeed
Yep.
is is a big one. It's like, man, failure is the foundation of everything that I've ever done. And it's always led me on to the next thing. And just like with school, just like with trading analytics, stock analytics for the oil company, just like the construction company that I started, I didn't fail at them. I just learned that it's not what I wanted to do. And the reason I didn't like the construction industry is because people are just assholes, man. And they are, I don't know if are we allowed to cuss on the podcast. Sorry.
I'll figure it out later.
Um, uh, but yeah, no, people are just not the kind of people that I want to be around. They don't represent my values. They don't represent who I am and what I want to give back to the world. And so I ended up selling that company to the guy that got me started doing it. And and then I moved back out here. When I first moved out here, I bought a house, and so I moved back out here, just kind of reset and regroup. But at the time, you know, things were I was starting to run out of money pretty quick because just like everything, I think that I know better, and I thought that I don't need to save, and I don't need to invest, and I don't need a financial advisor to help me, do these things. And man, I was spending money left and right
Yep.
just on shit. Looking back now, I'm like, what was I doing?
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that's I feel like with anything. I mean, I feel like even sometimes like some of the stuff that I bought for my podcast, I'm like, did I really need this? And it's like and it's funny because like I've seen stuff on like social media where they're like, you don't realize how much you're spending. Like, you might get a coffee here for that's $4. And if you get that 3 or 4 days in a row, like, yeah, it might be just a little bit of money in that aspect, but like I'm sure like if I could just get a
and
chart of
it
all the
adds
stuff
up.
that I spent, it's just
Yeah, and I think about it a lot, especially with social media and stuff, which I know we're going to get into, but I think about, okay, what is the bare minimum that I need just to get started, to get going? Because that's another great lesson that I've learned just in the past is I get really excited about things and I want to dive like head into them. I want to get the most, I want to do the most. I want to be the I guess not fanciest, but I want to, do it right, I guess,
yeah.
out the gate.
Yep.
And then I have to reel myself back and think, okay, look, you can do all of this with what you've got. Like get it going, get it started. Like don't overextend yourself into something that maybe you're not going to like it in the long run, as you can see a lot of things in my life. But
Yeah. No, and that's yeah, I mean even like I used to do a podcast with my buddy before I started this one and sometimes we're both like, okay, well, let's get the most fancy stuff, let's get the most expensive stuff and let's go. And then I'm like
yeah,
thinking I'm like, dude, if this and we only did it for like a month and a half. So I'm like, dude, like
right,
looking back at it, like if we would have spent all this money it would have just been sitting there collecting dust. So I'm glad like we kind of progressed. And I mean, even like the podcast I have now, I mean, I have a $10 microphone, I have a monitor that I found on Marketplace, and I have my girlfriend's old computer. So I'm like,
yeah,
until I
and then
really
I mean,
like
and
start doing something and like if I, because right now I'm only doing it as a hobby. I know like a couple of my buddies are like, why don't you do it for money and this and that? I mean, maybe down the line, but like
right,
honestly, where I'm at now, like, I mean, I know I'm only at 97 followers on TikTok and stuff, but like, I just did this kind of as a hobby, and then it kind of
right,
not took off because most of it is my friends and family and stuff like that. But like,
yeah,
it's already more than I thought it was going to be, which is fine. I mean, I definitely enjoy it.
man. And that's the thing is like you don't realize how many people that you can reach on this. I mean, and you don't want to set yourself up for, I'm not going to say set yourself up for failure either, because I do this a lot. I set my expectations so high out the gate that when I don't reach that goal, or that, if I don't achieve whatever that bar is that I set, then I personally feel like, man, I failed.
Oh yeah.
So it's like,
Yep.
instead of doing this and treating it, I love what you said. It's like, this is a hobby right now. I'm having fun right now, because the minute you stop having fun doing it and it becomes a job, then it's almost like, in my mind, for me, I feel like, man, it's a chore. It becomes a
Yep.
chore. And then I don't feel like I want to wake up and I want to do it, and I don't get excited about it anymore.
Yeah.
So I think you're spot on with that. It's like, don't make it a have to do every day, right out the gate.
Yep.
Just kind of grow yourself slowly, scale it slowly, and all of that will come, all the growth will come, all of the, monetization of it. If that's where you want it to go, it'll come if you're doing it for the right reasons.
For sure.
So
Yeah. So I mean, I know you said that you sold your business. Did you sell your business and then just switch right into social media, or was there kind of like a
didn't.
bridge to get into that?
Yeah, so when I got back out west here, so I'm in Colorado right now.
Okay.
When I got back out west, and I realized that I pretty much pilfered through a ton of money after I had sold the company, and I needed work. Needed to go back to work. Well, my entire professional background is in construction management,
Gotcha.
project management, project executive. I mean, that was the management side of construction, mainly residential, commercial. And so I got hired on a guy had found my resume, I think on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're looking for a branch manager in your area," and they wanted me to oversee like this. It was 14 counties, and there were multiple crews and a bunch of projects and stuff going on. So I did that for about a year and a half, 2 years, until I realized I put myself right back in to the exact situation that I was trying to get out of. And and then it dawned on me like, Brandon, you've got to, if you want to make a change, you're going to have to change. It's like
Yeah.
there is no, you've got to take the first step, you've got to do it because it's like you get to a point where you get fearful. You get afraid to step out of the box. You don't want change because change is scary. I
Yeah,
mean, change is scary for a
you
lot
get
of people.
comfortable in the situation and you're like, you know what? Instead of expanding on anything, whether it be your skills or anything like that, you're just yeah, I mean, and I've heard plenty of people say it, like you're afraid of the unknown. You'd rather just stay in a
Yeah.
comfortable position and see where it goes from there.
Yep, yep. And I'm not I'm not knocking people who are in that, but what I am knocking is just like you said, if you're listening to this and you're out there and you're afraid to change and you're afraid for yourself, stop being afraid because the things that you want are never going to come to you until you step out of that box and you take a leap of faith in yourself because you got to believe in yourself and you got to have faith in yourself, you know?
Yeah, sure.
And so that was the branch management role that I was in up until last month. And last month something just clicked inside because I've been on TikTok now for about, I don't know, cumulatively over a couple accounts about a year.
Okay.
And and I'd started my most recent account, Social Sprout, in March this month at the
Oh,
beginning of this
wow. Okay.
um, and I thought, you know what? People on here are doing it. Aren't afraid to be themselves. They want to do it. So that's when I got into social media was just, the beginning of this month, man.
Damn. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I know I came across your page and whatever, and I think you're at what, like 1,200 followers now? Um,
Yeah, you know what? I think I am now that you said that. I looked this morning. I think I'm at 1265 or something
okay.
like that. So
Which is,
yeah.
I mean, I mean, I've been doing, I mean, the podcasting stuff I've been doing now since the beginning of this year, so I'm 3 months into it. And I mean, really good for you. I mean, in what is we're
Man, it just takes
26
it
days in,
takes
and you're taking off.
yeah, and it takes consistency. It takes hard work. I mean, I think this is the thing that people don't tell you when you get on social media and you see these big creators and you see these huge accounts and how successful they are, and even like the podcast and stuff like that, because I watch a ton. I am a So back in the early days of YouTube in like 2010, 2011, like I used to get on there and watch TED Talks like all day long, every
Okay.
day.
Okay. Yep.
And that kind of morphed into watching podcasts because it was a more personal one-on-one interaction. And, it felt more inviting, like you
Yeah.
were a part of it. And people will not tell you how much work it takes to create content. I mean, it is a full-time job if you really want to be consistent, put out quality content, edit it well, and have a good message for people.
Yeah,
People
for
are just
sure.
not gonna, the successful ones aren't sitting out there telling you, man, this takes a ton of time, especially if you're a one-man show. I mean, that's what I am. you know?
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, yeah, like I've even, because a couple of my buddies are like, dude, you need to just keep putting videos out, keep putting videos. And I'm like, that's easier said than done. Like, I mean, for you, I
It-
mean, like it might be a little bit easier, but like I'm working a full-time job. And then again, like I said, just doing this kind of for a hobby. So it's like, you know, yeah, you got to get them out, get them out, get them out. But I'm like, dude, like I got to work on this. I got
there's a
to do,
process.
yeah, it's like, there's definitely a process. And like, that's why also too, I'm kind of like, yeah, would it be nice to have, thousands and thousands of followers? And eventually I'll get to that point, hopefully. But like, I mean, right now it's just a hobby, and I'm fine with it being a hobby. I know, like I said, a lot of my buddies are like, "Dude, you should keep doing this to make money," and I'm like, I'm at 97 followers. I've been doing this for 3 months, so like, let's
Right.
not let's not go into the deep end here. Let's baby steps here.
I commend you for that, man. I mean, you're doing, I mean, the fact that you have a full-time job and you're able to still create content and want to create content, that is big. I mean, when I was working my full-time job, I got up at about 5:36 in the morning and I worked until about 5:36 in the evening or afternoon. And there was no way. I mean, in the back of my mind, I kind of thought, man, it would be cool to make some content. I was so dead tired after working a full-time job. There would have been no way to be able to do it because I mean, not only does it take time, it takes I mean, it takes your energy. If you
Yeah,
want to be genuine and authentic and really connect with people and stuff, it
for
takes
sure.
energy from you. It takes it out of you to be able to create content because I think anything creative in life really, I mean, it takes a little bit of you, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy because like seeing some of the videos, like even of like the people that have millions of followers, and I'm like seeing their videos, I'm like, dude, that's really cool. I wish I could do that. And I'm sitting over here and, using the free version of CapCut, doing the bare minimum.
Yeah,
But I'm like, I
yeah.
mean, even my first podcast that I did, and they were only like 15, 20 minutes, nothing crazy. And I'm like, dude, it's a lot. It's crazy how much like a 20-minute video turns into like, and I know you have on here, like your overlays with lots of technical stuff like 2+ hours or front facing talking
Yeah,
30 to an hour. Like,
yeah.
yeah, you're like your 15-second or 20-second TikTok is realistically like hours worth of work. And it's crazy. And like
Oh,
I said, the podcast, a 20-minute
absolutely.
podcast turns into an hour and a half worth of editing.
I mean, I can only imagine doing a podcast that lasts for, I mean, because you're right. When I do those, if I'm just doing like a trendy little TikTok or something like that, that is a 5 to 10 second clip, it's going to take me a good 20, 30 minutes
Yeah.
to make sure that everything is edited, make sure there's no dead space in it, make sure that, the words on the screen, the keywords are matching up, make sure that, I'm tagging the right hashtags, make sure, I mean, there is so much that goes into that that people just don't realize. So to do a podcast, to do a 30-minute podcast or to do an hour-long podcast, dude, my hat's off to you. I mean, I would love to try and do podcasts, but I'd have to have a whole damn team to edit
Yeah,
that
and I
stuff.
mean, it's a lot easier because originally I was just doing only audio podcasts, but even that I feel like was a little bit more difficult because at least like with a audio or a video podcast, you're at least there's something to watch, something, like when I'm editing this, it won't be as hard to edit because like just audio one, you have to find pictures or something that relates to the topic to get
Uh,
them to
that
actually
overlay.
watch it. Yeah. So that's why
Yeah,
I kind of transitioned over to the video one because I'm like, it makes it my job a little easier
right.
and stuff like that. And I feel like more podcasts that are coming out are strictly, just video ones and stuff like that. But it's
Right.
even crazy. I mean, some of the podcasters that I watch, I'm like, you know, a lot of them have come from nothing and now are like this is their job, which is crazy. And like even some of the
Oh man,
equipment, I'm like, that's that takes guts. I mean, even like you, I mean,
it does.
leaving your
It does.
full-time job to do this, I mean, that's a big step. And I mean, I congratulate
You,
on what you're doing. And I mean, like I said, 26
you
days, you're
know,
already at 1,200.
and the thing is, a lot of people are going to look at you they're going to look at you and they're going to judge you because they don't understand, like, how did you do that? Why are you doing that? That's stupid. And I think that a lot of people look down on people like doing podcasts or people trying to do social media. And the podcast, the big podcast or the social media people and all that stuff. I mean, kudos for them for starting where they were and being where they are now and growing and developing and all the hard work that it takes to put
Yeah.
into that. I mean, it's a lot, man. What
Yeah.
what podcast and stuff do you watch?
So I watch the Journey podcast. I just started watching that one. Probably it's been a year and a half now. It was just two buddies that kind of, they were friends throughout high school, then they broke apart, did their own thing, and came
Yeah.
back, and then it's just they talk about, pretty much like their journey from what they've gotten to, and it's not, I mean, it's growing definitely, but like them, and this one's gonna be funny, but like Impulsive, Logan Paul's podcast, I
Oh
listen to
yeah. Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look at more, but I mean, even like the sports people's podcasts, like I mean, football players, all that, I watch
Right.
theirs because it's like, again, they already have a busy schedule, and then they're going to throw a podcast in there. I mean, granted, with all the money and resources they have,
I mean, they've
obviously,
got teams of people, but it
yeah,
still takes time. It still takes energy. I mean, that
yeah,
is, you're
yeah,
right. And
and it's
especially the
yeah, it's
big
just
guys.
crazy. Like even the podcast, the Journey podcast I was watching. I mean, they're just now, you know, getting more sponsors. Like it's funny when I first started watching them, they didn't have any sponsors. They're getting low views. Now they're getting those views. They're getting more sponsors. I mean, I've even come across on, just scrolling through on Instagram or whatever, and like the sponsors that come across, it's like, okay, I remember that sponsor, and then it would be, one of those guys doing the ad. I'm like, okay,
Right.
so that's like,
Right.
but I mean, they've even talked about like, I mean, they had to just sleep in, at buddies' houses on the couch. They, like I said, they started from
Absolutely.
nothing to where they're at, and I mean, kudos to
And that's
them.
what
And
it
it's
takes. I mean, if you want to be successful in anything, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. If you want to be successful, you got to be dedicated.
yeah,
And that's, I mean, and to do whatever it takes. If that means sleeping on the floor for, however long, eating rice and beans for however long to make sure that you're going to get out there and do it, then yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because I'm with you. I mean, I watch obviously people like Theo and like Mel Robbins. I love those inspirational, motivational people. Lately, I've been getting into. Have you heard of the Basement Yard?
I don't think I have. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Check them out. It's two guys in Brooklyn. Super, super funny. I mean, it's a funny podcast. So that's my wind down time instead of having to think so in depth because people like Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, they get you thinking so hard about your life. You're like, oh man, you get wore out a little bit sometimes. So you need
Yeah,
that little creative, you need that funny break. So yeah, check out the Basement Yard. They're funny.
I'll look them up. Yeah, it is.
But
It's
yeah,
funny that you
no.
say that. Yeah, like the Mel Robbins and all them. It's like, damn, I really don't.
I mean, it's while it's inspiring, it's so self-reflective. You look at yourself and you're like,
Yeah,
I've got to do more. I've got to do more. Like these people, literally, like you said, they slept on a concrete curb for 8 years, and then they made it out. And I'm over here, I've got a nice, comfy bed and a nice, warm place to live, and food in
yeah.
my time. It's like maybe I'm not suffering enough to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
But
think of it like that too. Like even like, when I post a video and it doesn't get as many views as I thought it would or whatever. But it's like,
yeah,
I mean, these these content creators didn't just I mean, it didn't just happen overnight. So it's
yeah,
like, and I've seen some of yours and I've seen other pretty, videos, and I'm like, I'll be like, oh, damn, he got 2,000 views. Like, what the heck? But
right,
I mean, it's
right,
consistency. It's, depending on how much work you put in, it's the algorithm.
yeah.
There's a whole list of stuff.
Man, and another thing people are not going to tell you on this that I've had to learn the hard way because this is one of the biggest things for me that is the hardest for me. Self-promotion. It is a litany of constant self-promotion. when you are getting on there and you're, engaging with other people's posts and you're liking and you're reposting and sharing it and following it, literally, I am in the comments responding, check me out if you want, tips on this. Check me out. You need help. If you need help on, you know, growing, to a more target audience, check me out. It is constant self promotion. And it's the one thing that I am really, it's one of the hardest, one of the hardest parts of making TikTok content is, overcoming that fatigue of creating the content, but also overcoming the negativity in the space and the self promotion. I mean, like you're saying, you see all these people and they've got millions of followers, hundreds of thousands of views. And you're right, it didn't happen overnight. It was literally posting every day, all day, self-promoting their own content, going out there. And no matter how cringy that feels and stuff, it's only cringy to people who are looking at you, judging you,
Yeah. Yeah, and
because
that's my biggest problem too, is like sometimes when my girlfriend's home and I'm doing, TikTok videos or podcasts or whatever, I'm like, don't judge me. She's like, why would I judge you?
yeah,
She's like, I'm obviously your number one supporter. I'm like, I know, but like
dude, and that's awesome.
even like the first couple podcasts, like because most of them were just me talking to the camera, I'm like, dude, it's just me talking to myself. Like, what's going on? Like, and like even some of like now that I'm getting a little bit more of the views, and like even one of my podcasts, I'm like, honestly, even if I sit and talk to the podcast for, you know, 15, 20 minutes, if it's just me that listens,
Right.
I mean, it makes me happy. So,
Yeah. Man, and I think you've got a great outlook on that. And I mean, sometimes I struggle with this, and I know yesterday was one of the harder days for me because I did the exact opposite of what you were saying. It's like I started getting consumed by, man, there's not that many people watching, or there's not that many people liking. And then it dawned on me. It dawned on me. It's like, Brandon, it doesn't matter how many the people that are watching you, the people that are getting you, that's who your content is for. You are
yep,
creating the connection. The audience that you're making is the audience that you need to have. It's
yep,
not about, having 10 million followers. It's about really connecting with people and getting your message out there and helping others. Because I think that's, you know, one of the main reasons. I mean, one of the main reasons that I started the TikTok was to make money. I mean, it was I've got to get into this social media space and I've got to make money. But what I realized is that, you know, finding, and I talk about this in some videos. If no one's ever seen them, go check them out on my page. Finding your purpose in what it is that you want to achieve. What is my life purpose? Because when I got onto TikTok, it was to make money. It was solely selfish. I wanted to make money on the platform. And then over time, I realized purpose is not a destination. Like, that is not, just because I want to get there, it doesn't mean that that's my purpose. It's a journey and it's a development.
yep,
And I realized that making money maybe isn't what I want to do on social media. What I want to do is help other people get to a point that they can do it, because that makes me happy. I mean, helping other people is one of my things, and it makes me happy.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly how mine is. I saw you want to grow the TikTok. You're doing how many followers by the end of this month?
So I would like to have 10K. So I started the 10K in 30 days challenge. I think that kind of goes back to setting the bar so high, setting my expectations so high that if I come short, like I feel like maybe I didn't achieve it. But yeah, looking to get 10K in 30 days. So hopefully by the end of, I'm just going to say the middle to end of April, we're going to be there.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm right behind you because I'm not even at 100, but I'm gonna hopefully get to that point too, just like you're trying to get there. So,
Yeah, man. Well, we're gonna promote the hell out of you. We're gonna
yeah,
promote the hell out of you.
yeah, I'm gonna do the same. Like I said, I think with this podcast, you know. it will help both of us. It'll get your name out there, I'll
Absolutely.
continue to get, hopefully my following and everybody will start, coming toward your page and helping you out there. That's pretty much what this whole thing is about. I mean, like I said, we kind of
Yeah,
relate on the same things. So,
that's awesome.
um, but yeah, I mean, I guess to round it out, let everybody know, where they can find you and just kind of like a
Yeah, so
little
right
recap.
right now I am on TikTok. It's at Beffix, so it's Beffects, and it's Social Sprout is the name on there. Honestly, I don't even know where I got that handle from. I was typing in things and I was like, I don't know what even makes sense. So yeah, at Beffix on TikTok, Social Sprout, you can find me on there. I'm on Facebook. I have no idea what my handle is on there, but I don't really use that platform a lot. I need to start branching out into other platforms
Yeah.
because
I've been trying to do it. I don't know if you want to check it out or anything, but I've been trying to do, I have an Instagram. I barely use it, but I've been trying to do Instagram Reels, which I think
okay,
is kind of helping the TikTok side of things. Because I
yeah,
get a little bit more like views and engagement there. So I would check that out too. It's
okay,
just hard because like I forget that I have one. So like I post all
right.
my TikToks and then I'm like, crap, I didn't post anything on Instagram.
And now I got to
So
go. And dude, that goes right back into the other thing about like how much time this takes. I can't imagine like having, because all these creators and they've got TikTok, YouTube, so Instagram. I mean, they've got every single platform and they're posting content to all of the platforms. I'm like, it takes
yeah,
everything in me just to post a TikTok. So I'm gonna have to. I've got some learning to do when it comes to that. But I would like to get on YouTube and Instagram. I'm gonna take your advice on that and check that out today.
perfect, perfect. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you being on here. Like I said, we
Yeah,
relate to a lot of different things, and I definitely think, like I said, this is my first podcast besides having my buddy on that was a guest, but this is my first
yeah,
like networking podcast with somebody.
absolutely,
So, um,
man. Well, I appreciate you having me on, man. I know I've looked forward to it. I've been excited about it. And I know that your podcast is, I mean, you do a lot of sports and, life stuff. And whenever you do the next one, let me know and I'll be here.
all righty, perfect, man. Well, again, thank you for coming on, and we'll definitely be keeping in touch. And good luck on that 10K in 30 days.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you, Cody.
All right, man. I'll talk to you.
All right, see you.
See ya.
Hey, y'all, I'm Cody. It's time to catch up. Grab your headphones and fill your cup. Sports and life, I've got stories to share. Sit back, relax like you just don't care.